this I saw is pretty interesting. Hyperkin, which is the company that makes the Retron 5 and all the other Retrons, and I think they make a few other things. I wasn't aware of this, but they're set to release the old game, like a new version of the old Game Boy. And in the article, you can see all the information. It's being released this year. What do you think about that, Jim? So basically, not the old brick, but I think it's like the Game Boy Color Advance version. They're just like kind of re-releasing it out there, and I didn't read that deep into the specs as far as obviously it's going to be completely compatible with all the Game Boys for that specific one, but maybe it'll also be compatible with every Game Boy system. I'm not sure, but what do you think about that in general?
Yeah, I'm looking through it now, and the article doesn't really give you a lot of info about it. It just says it's going to have an aluminum case, have a backlit screen, and be under $100 in quotations. So, I don't know, man. Depending on the price point, I'm curious to see if it's just going to be another emulation kind of console that they normally do, where it just loads the ROM off the Game Boy carts. But, I mean, that would be cool, depending on the price, though. I mean, I still have a working GBA-SP, so I don't really have a need for this right now.
But here's my thing. I mean, I was able to find one of those, however long ago, one of our thrift stores for really cheap. Like, I feel like if I could have found them there, are they just in rare? Like, can you not find them, or are they? I thought they were pretty damn abundant still.
They were like a couple years ago, but it's been a while actually since I've seen a Game Boy at a thrift shop. So they're getting a little harder to find, I guess. Maybe people are starting to hop on that nostalgia train now, but. I mean, if it has like a really good quality screen and probably like a 6-hour battery life, and you charge it by USB-C, so I mean that's not bad. It sounds solid, at least on the surface level right now.
Yeah, what I think
better
would
play the whole library.
Yeah, well, what I was gonna say, what would make it interesting, I don't know if they're just making it in the shape and whatever, but take the idea of the Retron 5 for portable, and let it play every other system's portable game. So like, do the Game Gear, do the Lynx, do the Game Boys.
Yeah.
Because, that I could see a market for. Because, like, if you were a collector of those things, chances are, you could still be deciding you want to lug around your old Game Gear, but you're probably not. So if something new and sleek came out that had a pretty decent battery that you just use your old cartridges, I think that would be kind of cool. Like, but if it's just strictly Game Boy, I don't really see the full purpose. Like, I'm sure enough people have Game Boys, and I don't know if it's got enough of a market to just supply, the handheld game market. Because if you're going to have a handheld, you're either using your phone or the latest Nintendo, DS or whatever.
Yeah, but Hyperkin stuff's never been, like, marketed really for the mass market. It's always for the old collectors who already have the games to play, so I can see, you know what, like the Game Boy screens, they're degrading, capacitors are going over time. The original Game Boy screen, like, compared to consoles now, looks awful by comparison, so there's a lot of motion blur with all of them, so they're not perfect screens. Like, the DS Lites, they play Game Boy Advance games, but that's it, pretty clearly, so there's definitely a market for it, and honestly, if it had an HDMI out in it, which I hope it would have some kind of, external output with video, it could be something that would be good for sites like us, just for easier recording.
Yeah, I don't know. That's also kind of a weird thing to me, is if you are in the handheld, I don't know. Like, I guess maybe there has to be enough of a market, but Retron is good at making a kind of non-discrete just system that can play a lot of other shit through emulation, so I get how they get away with that. But if this is just straight up a straight remodel of the old Game Boy, like, I wonder how they have the right to do that, because we know how Nintendo is with their shit. So it's like, it's not like it's just a miscellaneous square thing that you hold in your hands and it happens to play. It looks exactly like the Game Boy.
Well, actually, Snarkcast just brought up a good point in the chat, saying, because RetroBrit tried to do the same thing last year, and then it's been on indefinite hold. So, apparently Nintendo's legal rights to, I guess, the Game Boy kind of style and technology, it was like a 20-year kind of thing, and that's why it just, like, ran out. Yeah, so that's why you see all the NES clone consoles out there. like the plethora of all of them because
Yeah.
people are allowed to do it now. So I think legally, like, you can probably get away with it as long as it doesn't look, like, hey, we just rebuilt an NES or a Game Boy.
Yeah. That's interesting. Kind of veering off, but staying within the same realm. When, if you wanted to give an over-under, when are we going to start seeing good versions of emulation systems for, like, the N64, PS1, that era?
What was that one called? The CD, SEEDEE or something like that? That someone's working on right now that's going to do all the CD-based consoles. So
That would be friggin' awesome.
I know. Yeah, so, I mean, it's in the works from what I hear from a couple months back. So it's going to play, like, Turbo CD, Sega CD, PlayStation 1 through whatever, stuff like that. So, yeah, there's, I mean, all these consoles are, even more so than cartridge-based ones, these disc-based consoles are so prone to breaking down.
Yeah.
Lasers die, disc drives die, all that shit. They're so finicky, so... Dreamcasts, holy shit, are they faulty? So, anything like this that can come out, I'm all in favor for. And I'd probably definitely get at least one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would definitely get it, but my thing was, also, the biggest problem with CDs is the CDs themselves, if you can make them last.
Yeah.
Even if you're who's a super anal collector, you're bound to get some scratches on a CD. And all the toothpaste and random tricks in the world aren't going to fix it.
I've already had some games that it didn't work for. Like when we reviewed Jammy Lammy, we couldn't get past a certain level.
That goddamn game. Don't bring those horrible memories back to me, Jim.
Look, Bri, it was very apropos for the topic.
But yeah, no. So, I mean, I don't know. I just, every time I see one of those things from Hyperkin, I'm like, it's kind of cool. But this one, like I said, was a little more aggressive with being styled exactly like that. Now, knowing that you're such a weird, late-in-life Sega fanboy, if they did something that allowed the Sega Game Gear or something like that, do you think it would maybe get you into collecting for that and starting to go that way?
Oh, like I have some Game Gear games. I think I have like 15 or so, and I would love an easy way to play Game Gear games. I know the Retron 5 is an adapter now that can let you do that, but I don't have a Retron 5, so that's out there. But it's so weird that Sega never made like a Super Game Boy, but for Game Gear for the Genesis. Kills me they never did that. They can make all the other add-ons in the world, but they couldn't think to do that.
Of course not, Jim. Come on.
So yeah, I mean something like I think the Retro Freak might have an adapter for Game Gear at this point. I'm not 100% sure. If Zotz is still in the chat, maybe he can let me know.
Yeah.
But he just actually said I'd like a Retro Freak portable. So
yeah. Yeah, and I know there's plenty of ways, like, if you do ROMs and pure emulation, you can mod phones to play that shit. I'm just thinking, like, in terms of the retro, where you actually just use the cartridge. But all in one that could play everything would be ideal. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be a goofy design because you have to have all the different slots.
Yeah, it would be very nuts.
And Zotz just said that the Retro Freak does play Game Gear, so there's another reason I want one. So
nice. Yeah, but you won't get it 'cause you'll waste your money on like weird Japanese N64 games.
Well, I only did that like a couple of times.
That's a couple times too many, Jim.